Welcome to episode 11 of the Scale Model Podcast, sponsored by Goodman Models. In this podcast, I aim to entertain, inform, and promote the hobby of scale model kit building with interviews, reviews, and news about the hobby. The Scale Model Podcast currently is recorded roughly bi-weekly and is available where your favorite podcasts are found, including iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Let me know if you have any comments or suggestions at scalemodelpodcast@gmail.com or by commenting at scalemodelpodcast.com or at Facebook on the page there at facebook.com/scalemodelpodcast. I also publish extra and bonus video content on the YouTube channel as well as a copy of the podcast. There's also a Patreon page at patreon.com/scalemodelpodcast. The money raised will be used to help offset web hosting costs as well as to purchase a digital recorder and microphone. So more interviews and other contents can be created for the listeners of the Scale Model Podcast to enjoy. As the podcast grows, I hope to introduce giveaways and other bonuses to Patreon supporters as a thank you for supporting the Scale Model Podcast. My name is Stuart Clark, and I'm here with our almost regular now guest host, Anthony Goodman. Anthony, how are you tonight?
I'm great, Stuart. How are you today?
Oh, finally feeling better. That darn cold had me on my back for the better part of a month during Christmas. Yep. So we had to skip the last one. Listeners knew the previous one from before that when I was right in the middle of it. I sounded more like a frog. So it was a very short podcast, but I do appreciate all the notes and comments wishing me to be better. The older I get, I find the less times I get sick, but it takes longer to shake the darn thing. And this one, they're basically saying it takes a good month, and I'm just coming up to that now. So there's still the odd little bit of coughing, but other than that, we got through Christmas and New Year, a fairly quiet one. How was
Happy New Year.
Thank you. How was the holidays for you and your family?
Excellent. I gotta say, I was sick too. I always get sick once a year. It seems to be always around Christmas, but we had a great time and some relaxing, a little bit of model building. Awesome. I snuck it in there.
Good for you. Yep. No, Santa was good to me. I've got myself a Battlestar Pegasus. That's probably going to be next on the queue to build. So
wonderful.
Looking forward to that, but I got a few other things to finish, and we'll cover through that. So it's been a month, which means almost double the news, but then we also compound it because it's year end, and in the modeling world, that means new announcements coming up for 2019.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna get right into it, and there is an absolute ton. Actually, I should also give a shout out and a happy New Year to our friends down in Australia at On the Bench. They've been doing well. They had a good Christmas and all that. Also, another news, we're hoping that one of their hosts, the main guy, Dave, he's going to be up in Canada next winter. So we're hoping that up in Toronto. So we're hoping at some point he's either going to come down here or I'm going to go up there. We'll meet halfway. We're going to do a podcast live together.
Well, that's going to be really neat.
That's going to be fun. So we're hoping we're going to do something like that. We still have to do a lot of planning for that, but we'll see what we can come up with. So that'll be
meeting
fun.
Of the minds.
Meeting of the internet's two greatest hobby podcasts. Exactly. Okay, let's move on to the news. So some early stuff from December. Revell had a bunch of December releases. We're going to go through these really quickly because, as I said, we have a lot. There's an EC-135 German Army Aviation in 1/32nd scale. This is a helicopter. 30 euros, 260 parts, 390 millimeters in length. This is a well-used helicopter. It's not only used by the military, it's used by civilian police services over there. Quite a bit, and air ambulances. Detailed cockpit, control levers, instrument panel, detailed tail rotor. That tail rotor looks pretty impressive. For plastic, I don't think that's that's photo etch. So nice looking helicopter if you're into those. They also have, they're also releasing some junior kits. It's kind of like the Airfix starter one. So this one's, they call it a junior kit or a beginner's model. And this is a Porsche 911 Targa 4S. And again, it's about 30 euros.
Interesting.
Yeah, nice little thing. It's like a snap tight fit. Apparently,
that's great.
Yeah, apparently it has illuminated lights and authentic engine sound. So that'll be interesting. But a very simple, it's actually not even snap tight, screw together. So screw together.
Yeah,
so
I see the diagram there.
Yeah, authentic engine sound, removable roof, opening bonnet, can be disassembled, stickers instead of decals, and batteries are included. Goodness me. Imagine
There you
that, eh?
go.
There you go.
That looks pretty good.
Yeah, that looks neat. It builds up fairly nicely too. And another way to
Yeah, it
get the
looks
kids
great.
involved. Yeah. Moving on as well, they've got a new Honda CBX 400F motorcycle. For those of you
Oh,
who
that's a
build that,
classic.
yep, 1/12 scale. You must know more about bikes than me, but I've heard the name, so it must be common.
Yeah. Well, I like the 80s. That
Yeah,
looks so like a 70s, late 70s, 80s
80s.
style.
Yeah.
I think they're really
Yeah,
cool.
it looks, 168 millimeters in length, 94 millimeters in width, 71 millimeters high, €60, fairly challenging kit. Yeah, launched in 1981. You see? There you go.
Yeah. That'll be a nice build up.
You know your bikes. Yeah, moving front wheel forks. Yeah, lots of
Cool.
chrome. That's going to look nice. Okay, moving on for the airliner folks. Revell's been producing quite a bit of airliners lately. So this is a 747-8 in Lufthansa in their new livery. 1:144 scale, 172 parts, €30. Big kit, 525 millimeters in length with the wingspan of 476.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is an updated model of the 747. This is the successor to the 747-400. Much more better engines, fuel economy, stuff like that. It was also the first aircraft to carry their new livery. So I'm just looking at that. I didn't realize Lufthansa switched. They used to have a little bit more yellow in the tail, and they've gotten rid
That's
of
right.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks
That's
nice though.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Now I'm tempted to build an airliner.
oh yeah, there's a lot of people into it, and they can be fun as well. So lots of decals there. Also another bike, BMW R75/5 in big 1/8 scale, €60. Nice looking BMW here. This was completely redeveloped at the end of the 60s. 180 kilometers an hour. Entered the arena of large volume engine. This was actually the first. This must be a reissue. The first model developed by Revell Germany. So this must be a reissue. Nice little
Okay.
detail set. So yeah, again, fairly nice if you're into the motorcycles. We also have a C160 Transall. This is I'll call it the European version of a two-engine C130. It's a transport aircraft. I used to remember they used to come to the air show every year. The German Air Force would bring
Oh
one
yeah,
to the
I've never
local
seen
London
one.
Air Show. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the C-130.
Yeah, yeah. It's basically a two-engine version. It's slightly smaller. 264 parts, €40, 450 millimeters in length, the wingspan of 555. So a fairly large aircraft.
Yeah, that'll be a big project.
Yep. They've been around. They've been around for quite a while. But this one includes shaft dispenser, ESS pod on the wing, sensor arrays, etc., etc. Detail interior cladding with conduits. Looks like a nice little bench seating, so you can open up the back thing. So that is Revell for December. And then also I got an email just a couple of days ago of their upcoming 2019 releases this year. So yeah, I basically got an email, not a ton of detail yet, mostly stuff from the catalog. So I'm just going to briefly go through a couple of them. So they've got their airliners. They've got an Embraer 190 in Lufthansa livery, also an Airbus 320 as well. One I wouldn't mind getting is a Land Rover Series 3 in 1/24 scale, because my dad had one, and it
Really?
looks almost this color. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's kind of neat. They're releasing a 1/600 scale Enterprise.
So that's a fairly large enterprise.
It's not bad. The 1/350s are the big ones you see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with those.
Yeah, so that's level 3. Level 4, they've got an A350 in Lufthansa, an Airbus 321, USS Voyager in 1/670. So again, not a constant scale.
That's bad. I know that's always a sticking point for a lot of folks.
Yeah, a lot of the sci-fi modelers now, a few of the bigger companies have like 350th and, some more standard ones. But you're still seeing, like, I noticed too, some of the European companies like Airfix and that, they'll have some funny scales with the ships. And yeah, if we look at that, they've got a release of the German aircraft carrier that they never built for the Second World War, the Graf Zeppelin. That's in 1/720th scale, for example.
And what's the common
700 or 350?
Yeah.
Okay.
So now they're really throwing a loop.
Yeah, and see, Airfix does, and some other companies, I think Heller does 1/600th. So yeah, it's kind of, there was, what's usually happened is, I know in the area of ships, a lot of the Japanese companies got together and they decided, okay, well, I'll make different ones, but we'll make the waterline option and we'll make them all the same scale, 1/700th. So it was kind of a way for
Yeah.
them. That way one company didn't have to make everything.
That's a good. That's a
Yeah.
good marketing
Yeah,
strategy.
it's a good way to do it. There's an MH47 Chinook coming out, a whole bunch of different cars. 1970 AAR Cuda, which looks nice in a purple scheme. A Shelby GTH from 2006.
Cool.
Kenworth W900 truck. If we look at some of the armor stuff, again, see some different scales here. So 172nd, 176 here. You've got a GTX Boxer command post, a Model T 1917 ambulance, and 135th. That'd be kind of neat.
Something different.
Yep. Now,
Yeah.
something on the bigger side. Now, this is a reissue, unfortunately. They have a Hawker Harrier in 132nd scale, so that'd be a fairly large one. Yeah.
Cool.
I looked that one up. That one's unfortunately just a reissue. It's a very old mold, but they've apparently added some decals and stuff like that. Then if we move on, some of the bigger scales, they're coming out with an ME262 in 132nd scale, an Avro Shackleton, which I know some people will like, in 172nd, an Airbus 380. That's the monster aircraft, the two deck aircraft, airliner, 144th, and a bunch more bikes. The 250 DT1, the BMW 75-R Police. They've got a V1 rocket with a transporter. Sorry, a V2 rocket with a transporter, 172nd scale.
Gigant.
Yep. The Queen Mary 2, 1/400th, the ocean liner, modern ocean liner.
That's cool.
Yep. And an Imperial Star Destroyer in 1/2700. So, again, so that's a lot which Airfix, Revell is coming out with in January. And again, these are, a lot of the companies are starting to do some announcements like that. So going on, we've got Italeri, some of their December releases. Basically, they've got another truck, a Volvo FH4 Globetrotter XL 124 scale. It's 100% new mold, 67 euros. 24.6 centimeters in size, full chassis detail, driver's side opening doors, photo etch parts. So I know this is something, and a crap load of decals, including like every European country known to man, on there for the license plates. They've showing some CAD images, including the fact that you can tilt up the engine bay. So again, for the truck guys, I think they're going to enjoy that.
Looks beauty.
Yep. Now here's something that's interesting, and this is something Italeri is continuing. They have a War Thunder edition of a BF 109 F4 and a Focke-Wulf 190 D9. So War Thunder is actually a computer game. It's a multiplayer online computer game. So they're involving obviously World War II aircraft. Italeri's actually done some other stuff, and other vendors for similar games like World of Warships and World of Tanks.
World of Tanks, yeah.
Yeah, and what often happens is, in this case as well, if you buy this kit, you also get a bonus code for like a free upgrade or something in the computer game.
Right, yeah.
We call these games, it's actually free to play. But if you want to like progress quicker or get a better aircraft, you can pay to play.
Yeah, pay for some better upgrades,
exactly, or to like
access to equipment, and
or like level up quicker, stuff like that. So this box, it actually contains both model kits in 172nd, a guide to the aircraft, even some glue, and again, obviously a bonus code. Looks like, I'm just looking here, you get 7 days of premium. You also get access to a F2A1 Buffalo and an Enkel 112. And they're both considered premium fighters at various ranks. So
that's not bad. It's about $50 or so.
Yeah. 20. Well, it's 25 euros, about 40. The euro's about $1.50 Canadian right now.
Oh, okay.
So again, some bases. Looks like a good basic, starter. I'd call it like a starter kit.
Yeah.
Fairly straightforward. But as I said, this is an interesting thing we're seeing some of the manufacturers doing now.
Yeah.
Where they're working with some of the computer game people. And because, again, quite often people are playing these things, and then just like in the sci-fi world, right? You would play computer games, or like, things like Guild Wars and that, and then people started releasing models and vinyl figures and stuff like that of their favorite World of Warcraft. Well, it's kind of the same thing. So it'll be interesting to see how this continues. I'm kind of watching this carefully. I haven't built a Italeri in quite a while. I've heard like some of the other vendors, there's some very good things and there used to be very bad things. But yeah, so this looks like a nice looking kit. Well, like I said, two there. There's basically two, and yeah, looks fairly straightforward. You even get a little bit of a Tallery liquid cement. I didn't know they made liquid cement. So there you go.
It might be something that they purchase and then put their label on kind of thing, right?
Probably.
It could be. Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Also, they've got a 1/35th scale German transport truck, a Mercedes-Benz L3000S. 27 euros, 3 marking choices, your basic transport truck. That looks quite interesting. It was the primary solution for all logistics and transport needs of the Wehrmacht. So 74 horsepower, 4-cylinder diesel engine used in all fronts. Even the Africa Corps used it. So yeah, 3 versions, over 2,700 units were produced, becoming the most produced Mercedes truck in the late 30s and early 40s. So there we go. Okay, moving on. Actually, I should have mentioned this before, but they've also released, in addition to the 2 German aircraft, there's also a War Thunder edition with 2 U.S. aircraft.
Yes.
The P-47 and the P-51. You actually get the same bonus codes, but again, similar idea. So if you like the American side of things, and yeah, the mock-up, what we see here looks pretty nice. Some fairly straightforward 1/72nd scale kit. So yeah, that's what's coming out from a Tallery for December, and it's probably going to be out fairly soon. Okay, moving
Excellent.
on. Ammo announcements. So this was back in December, and I really wanted to cover this when I was sick, unfortunately, but I didn't get a chance. So MiG Ammo, they've been producing a lot of neat things coming out. So we're going to start with this. This is what I had tongues wagging about 2 weeks ago. This is called the ETO Solutions box. So this first one is a World War II USA coloring and weathering system. So this solution box, this basically has everything you need to paint and weather a World War II American vehicle in Europe, and I mean everything. So this has, well, I'll basically go into it. You've got the primer, you've got dry earth, olive drab base, wet mud, olive drab highlights, fresh engine oil, matte black, gunmetal, old wood, odorless thinners, old rust, olive green, transparent, or that's their kind of transparent medium, dark brown, lucky varnish satin, dust, green for gray green, that's a filter, starship filth, dark wash, 3 different brushes, and dark earth. So this is like a whole system where you get a bunch of stuff, like, because quite often when people are weathering, there's so many options now these days.
Yeah, you have to almost parse down.
Yeah,
and pick a couple things and
you play with it or whatever. But this here, plus it comes with a manual. This here, they give you everything you need in one box that you can come up with something really, really good.
This is very cool.
Yeah. Now,
it's a great system.
Yeah, this is a great, especially for people starting out. Now, it is expensive. It's 82 euros. But if you add up the prices individually, it's pretty well right on, and you're getting the guide for free.
Yeah. I don't think it's it's not out of the budget of somebody.
And these are full-size bottles. It's not like they're sample bottles or anything like that. But yeah, it's you basically, if you follow the guide, and their guides are great. I've seen some of their other guides. They do a really nice thing, and it doesn't even apply to their products, just their products. Obviously, they use theirs, but some good basic guides. And like I've been playing around with the Tamiya Panther, and I've been using a lot of Vallejo stuff. But I've been reading a lot, watching a lot of guides, learning how to weather and that, and having something like this all in one shot. It's pretty amazing, and it looks like they're going to produce some other ones for other countries as well.
Very cool.
Yeah, so this has got a lot of people talking. Again, it's one of those things where, if I saw this, let's say, a year and a half ago, I probably would jump on it, where instead I've gotten some individual things. But it's still something. If I wanted to start building a US one, I'd probably get something like this, because you got everything you need.
I like this. I think if they start producing more specific sets, and it coincides with something I'm working on, I think I would get one just to
definitely give it a try. MiG Ammo makes some great products.
They're really good.
Yep, we had a chance. Our friends at Raptor Hobbies, when they're at the Scale Model Show in London, they had a great little demo. We did a video. You can find on the YouTube page where we went through some of this, and they're gonna be stocking this.
Very cool.
So that's cool as well. Also, the latest version of the Weathering magazine came out, and this month's focus is all about wheels, tracks, and surfaces. Sorry. Excellent magazine. If you can find it, you may have to order it online, but it's an excellent magazine if you want tips. So they've got this month. They've got painting wheels with tires, how to weather boots, for example.
Oh, neat.
How to do some wet environmental, fully covered with fresh, dark mud. All sorts of things here. So yeah, some really cool stuff. Actually, I see one here further down. Looks like they've got some robot or Gundam legs and how to like do weathering on those.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've noticed that they're trying to make their products appealing to everybody, all the genres, and you can use them on all the subjects. So
exactly.
Yeah, and when you see examples, I think it starts to whet your own, get your own creative juices flowing, and you start applying it. Yeah, I did read their one of our friends in the club loaned me the Armor Encyclopedia, and there was a series of 5, and I read the first 3. And they were excellent,
very good. That's an excellent segue because there's now a volume 6.
Oh, really?
Yep,
yeah, excellent.
Yep. So they've got that more on modeling techniques. It's the final volume apparently. So yeah.
Is it tracks? I know they really.
They just says completing the process.
Very
if you
cool.
click on the link I gave you, it'll be on there. It's further down there. So yeah, basically, as I was saying, a complete, dirt effects. They kind of cover from start to finish. This is a Tiran 4 and 1/35th scale, and they kind of go through the whole weathering thing.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, this is it's the book follows the same orders as the other volumes, allowing the reader to easily look up and expand on any particular step.
Yeah, it's great. It's nice to have a hard copy too, like you mentioned the magazines. I find those a really great resource. Like pick up a couple mags. Like it's different than watching a video. It's something you can put on your desk beside your project, and you flip back and forth. You can really spend a lot of time perusing a specific article or a page.
Right.
And sometimes some things go by so quickly. If you're just watching a YouTube tutorial, and those are great. Don't get me wrong. Just it's a bit different experience, right?
Yep,
This book looks fantastic.
Exactly. Okay, moving on. They have their acrylic medium. I mentioned pre-show, and I put on my own blog that I've been playing with the Vallejo stuff. This is like a ground texture. So this one's for Vietnam ground, like dust of it.
I want this.
Yeah, this. You know what? I've got the Vallejo mud. I've been using it for my Panther, and the stuff's amazing. But when you open the jar, it looks like very wet peanut butter, or looks like very wet something else. You have kids, so a number 2, wet number 2, shall we say?
Wow, smear it all on there.
Yeah, exactly. But it's pretty amazing stuff. I haven't played with this one, but I've heard good things. I played with the Vallejo, so they've got this new texture. They've also got the Weathering Aircraft magazine. They've got they're up to issue 25, so that's been released as well. They also have a little paint organizer or a working organizer for the desk that's made out of laser cut wood. So you got like a little corner unit. Yep. So you can put your glue and your stuff like that. Various sizes there. So yeah, that's all from our friends at Ammo by MiG.
Very cool.
So yeah, some amazing stuff coming up there. All right, I told you we have a ton of news.
It's unbelievable.
Okay, moving on. We're going to go on to Trumpeter. Had some announcements, just a couple here. Their website's always funny. They sometimes put some stuff out really early, and then they don't officially announce it, shall you say, until later on. So this is what they say is coming for December and January. They've got a 1/24 scale JU87 G2. This is the tank buster version of the Stuka. Airfix has made one before in this scale, but Trumpeter likes to make big ones.
Wow, 24 scale. It's going to be massive.
Well, it's big. It's big. Yeah. Well, if you think back, if you were at the club meeting with one of our members, Dave, he's got those big Hurricanes and the Spitfires and the Mosquito.
I remember Dave's stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. That's 1/24th.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They're just
they're big. They're big.
Maybe they're fun to work on, right? Like
it's easier to. They got the room.
Easier to get into, I suppose.
Yeah,
right?
I suppose. But yeah, no, gorgeous stuff. They've also got the Royal Navy Conwell Heavy Cruiser in 1/350th. They're producing a Chinese Navy. They just call it the Chinese Navy number 2. So I don't know if the thing's been named or not.
this is a new thing, right? Like this
This,
aircraft carrier
yeah,
is brand new.
yeah, this is brand new. This didn't come from the Russians or the Indians. I believe they're building
Yeah, it's a
these.
Chinese
Yeah,
product.
yeah, but it's got
It's
the
probably,
ski jump like the Russians one. The Indian
yeah,
one's actually an ex-Russian one. We
it's
should state that.
repurposed, right?
Yeah,
But I thought they were, yeah, they've created their own ship,
yep, yep,
and the ship is new, and then here's a
yep,
kit. Wow, they're
yep,
really on top of it.
yep. So 1/700th, a GTMU vehicle, a T-72 tank, and a German SD KFZ 73 half track with a very funny looking trailer or turret or
Hmm.
something on that. I think it's the launch thing for the V2 that's
I
behind it
wonder,
in the
yeah.
picture there. So yeah, that's coming up from Trumpeter. They tend to have newer stuff too. Okay, Hobby Boss, Hobby Boss, Hobby Boss, Hobby Boss. They wowed the hobby world in many different ways by releasing that 1/32 scale B24. It's
Yes.
now showing up in stores. There's apparently quite a bit of debate there. It's not just the rivet counters. Apparently, there are some issues with it, and people, now that they're getting it, they're trying to see what they can do. There is going to be definitely aftermarket for the B24. I've been seeing a lot of people saying
Wow.
the engines need some work and
Oh
stuff
my
like
goodness.
that. But
Now
we'll see.
this is a large scale kit with a pretty hefty price
One
tag.
thirty
Right?
second scale, yeah, it's big bucks. It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is
so yeah,
huh.
people are kind of expecting a little bit more, I think. But again,
Yeah.
we'll wait and see what happens more. But they have been sitting on that. They have announced this is from December 23rd. They've got some January 2019 releases. Basically, not much details yet, but they're going to come out with a King Tiger with a Henschel version of the turret, 1944 with Zimmerit, 1/35th scale. So
That's the later version turret.
that's the big one. You know, for those that love to build King Tigers, I think every manufacturer out there builds a Tiger and a King Tiger these days.
Oh
Even though
yeah.
it was funny. I was listening to on the bench, and the guys there were talking like they didn't build that many of either type of tanks, but yet every model company has one. Shows
Well,
how
they're
popular.
yeah, they're very remarkable. I do remember reading about the production. It was at the end, and they switched. I forget whether they switched the turrets,
Yep, they went from the
but
Porsche to
there was
this.
only a handful of these things,
Oh yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
Was it Porsche manufactured the first set,
Yep, yep.
and
And
then
then
it
they
went
went with
to
the Henschel.
Henschel at the
Yep,
end?
yep, exactly.
And
So
there was it double digits of these tanks
I think it
that
was a
made it?
few more than that. I think it was like
Yeah.
in the hundreds, but not a lot.
Yeah.
Not a lot. It
That's
was
right.
definitely toward, if they'd built it a couple of years earlier, it would have probably changed a lot of things.
Sure.
So yeah, 3 or 4 schemes, lots of decals choices.
Very cool.
So yeah, so basically kind of looks good. I'm just trying to see here what the part count is. I don't see anything about tracks here. There's some photo etch. Oh yeah, individual link tracks, of course. 21 sprues, yeah, 900 parts. So most of them are on the tracks.
Well, there's some. Did you mention the photo etch?
Yeah, there's a bit of photo etch in there. Little
Grills and
screens, grills, and stuff like
antennas and
that.
stuff.
Little
Yeah.
tiny grab handles, stuff all loose.
Yeah.
The grab handle's so tiny. They also have a white M3A1 Scout car coming out, and this is including a 37 millimeter. No, this includes like a little howitzer. Oh, a towed 22 millimeter howitzer. Let's try English.
Yep.
So yeah, looks like one they based on a Soviet one. Looks like Soviet troops with that. So that was a land lease one. Yeah. Yep, and to the Free French. So it was the White Scout car supplied in large numbers under Lend-Lease to the Soviet Union and to Free French. Forces after the war, surplus were exported to nations in Israel where they served for many years. So again, good part count. Again, some photo etch. Couple of different sizes of tires. 16 sprues, 600 parts. Okay, so that's from our
Nice looking kit.
that's from our good friends at Hobby Boss. Moving on. ICM. So this is some early announcements, and I had to pull up a list eventually from our good friends at Hannett's because they had a complete list where the website here didn't have. It was just really jumbled a bit, I found. But they got a broad mix of things. They do some really nice stuff, sometimes obscure, a lot of figures, larger
Okay.
figures and stuff like that. So I'm going to I'm going to touch on a few of those. They've got the normal tanks and that, but like they've got American motorists. So like an old 1920s, 1910s car. So 124. So if you've got like a Model T, they've got a couple of figures of a driver and a lady in the back seat in their Sunday
That's interesting.
sort of thing.
Something different.
Yeah, then they've got some of these in the larger scale, like members of a SEAL team fighters 1 and 2.
Is that 1 to 6 scale?
Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, 1 to 6 most, or 1 to 16th quite often.
Oh, 16.
One,
okay.
1 to 6. They've also have, like, again, I went to Hannett's, and they've got like a British female police officer, a K9 Israeli team police officer with dog, Delta Force fighter in Mogadishu. So all 1/16. So these are larger ones. Centurion, American sports car drivers in 1/24 scale. So quite a large variety when I was looking through it. But yeah, so they have quite a bit. But again, just the websites, they don't have a lot on the main page, and then you have to kind of scroll through and find stuff. They often have some really kind of neat stuff. Like back in November, they had on the second page of their website, they had a taxi car with French infantry, and this was in 1914, where they had to basically all the French cab drivers in Paris. They had to, the Germans were getting close, so this is how they got the troops out to the front line.
Wow.
They had these guys piled in the taxi cabs, and away you go.
Interesting.
So yeah.
Wowza.
Yep. So yeah, that's that's coming from ICM.
Now, is this company connected to Masterbox?
I don't think so. These
ICM.
guys are Polish, if I recall.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they are.
It strikes me a little bit like
kind of similar thing. I think Masterbox just a couple of guys, and they're often known for doing some, shall we say, a little bit more risque subjects and non-politically correct subjects at times. I really wonder sometimes about what are they thinking.
I have a couple of the Masterbox kits, and they're really neat.
There's but
figures.
It's
mostly
lately,
figures.
Yeah, but like lately, for example, I didn't cover it, but they had a figure set designed for like truck model kits. So like the 1/24th.
Oh, like pinup girls, right?
Well, like pinup girls, but these ones were like, some people refer to it as lot lizards, like ladies who hang around the truck stop, shall we say, and offering services.
Oh my goodness!
Just some of the way these were set up and molded, it's like, come on, guys.
Pretty out there.
Yeah, it was. The
ones I have are fantastic.
Yeah, they make some other stuff, like some of their steampunk stuff and that, but just some of these, and people have kind of said, "What are you guys thinking?" Like, yeah, and they've got some of the pinup girls, like, some of the girls like working on a car bent over and wearing short, like okay, yeah,
keep it classy, model world.
Like it's kind of like, if it was a 1970s poster, maybe. But we're kind of, that again, that's my opinion. If you want to build them more, go for
keep
it.
it family friendly,
but try and keep it, don't bring it out to a show.
Trying to get people involved in the hobby, right? And it has been it has been changing, right? I think I was having a bit of conversation with my dad about it's sort of a middle class hobby, right? And most of the people traditionally were white hair, white skin, but you don't always see that all the time. It's opening up now, and
you're getting a big change and stuff like that. Exactly.
You get new perspectives and new creativity, right?
Yep, exactly. Okay, so mini art. This is the last day or two available for January. They had a release. So mini arts, again, not a lot of information. They produce a lot of interior kits and stuff like that. They're actually based in the Ukraine. They do a lot of armor stuff. So apparently, they announced on their website new kits available for January 2019. A Bergpanzer T60 interior kit, a Romanian S76 SPG TACOM T60 interior kit, a KMT-5M mine roller, a Sukhoi 124-54 late type. That's a tank destroyer. And apparently one that was popular was their beer bottles and wooden crates.
Cool.
Yeah,
those things are great. I love those little detail kits.
Yep, little accessories.
I love that stuff.
There. Yeah, so the Sukhoi, the 122-54. I may have mentioned this before because there was talks about this coming out. So this was a rare version with a slightly different gun in this particular tank destroyer. The Russians, really love their tank destroyers.
Yeah.
So that's coming out there. Also, speaking of big aircraft, Icon Air, they've announced a Dam Busters conversion set for the Hong Kong models 132nd scale Lancaster. So as everyone knows, particularly those who listen to this podcast, Hong Kong models were basically saying, yeah, they've got this. They were bringing out this Lancaster, and then back in early November, Wingnut Wings pulled the rug out and saying, well, we're coming out with one too, and a Dam Busters version.
Now, was the Wingnut Wings version, was it a sort of 2-in-1 kit where you could do each version, or did you have to buy a separate?
No, so they're going to release 2 separate kits. So one's going to be the Dam Busters aircraft with the appropriate stuff there, and the other one's going to be the standard one. The one that's been released, or is going to be, let me go back again. So those 2 are going to be released later on this year. The Hong Kong models one, it's been talked about.
It's out, right?
It's out. It's going out now. People are starting to build it. They were actually been talking about this for years. It's been, So all of a sudden, Wingnut comes in and just, bang.
Yeah. Got to get it out there.
Yeah, exactly. But
that's just the trick.
What's neat about this one is, and I've mentioned it before too, is that the Hong Kong one, the first release of it, they made a special edition. So they also gave you 2 more fuselage halves that were clear. So you can you could use one half of one and totally, pretty up the inside and make it just gorgeous
and show it off
without having to button the damn thing up.
Wonderful.
Yeah, this is something I wish other kits or aftermarket, I know there'd be issues there.
Very cool.
Yeah, so if you're one of the first ones to buy it, the first release of this from Hong Kong, you get that as an option.
That's pretty cool.
In there. But again, so now if you also wanted to do a Dam Busters one, it's been released. By a company called Icon Air. I'm just looking at some of the pictures. Yeah, it includes the bouncing bomb. There's obviously
those look awesome.
Yeah,
they look so good.
Yeah, these were great. If you've ever seen the movie, I highly recommend the movie.
One of my favorites.
Peter Jackson, again of Wingnut Wings. He's going to be making it. He's had the movie rights for a while.
Yeah, no, I think it's a little bit stuck in development hell.
Well, it was, but apparently now it's
back on track.
It's moved forward a bit, and they're going to actually make it into a 10-part miniseries, just like Band of Brothers. So it'll be interesting to see awesome. how they do that.
Yeah.
So that's the latest. That's the latest I've heard there. So
that is one of my favorite. I'm sure it is for you, but obviously the Lancaster's near and dear to my heart. We have one in our area, and
exactly.
And it's so cool. Love the film.
I've got a 72nd scale Hasegawa Dam Busters one. It's been sitting on the shelf of doom for a while. I just need to get back to it.
I actually don't have a copy of that kit, but it's sort of. It's probably going to be the only World War II subject airplane I ever built.
It's a gorgeous kit. Revell and Airfix have come out with some that are slightly better now. This one's about 12 years old, the Hasegawa ones I have. But yeah, beautiful kit. 72nd, it's a good size. I can fit it in, but 30 seconds a meter wide. Like, that thing is huge.
Well, and this is also another kit that's not something you can just buy willy-nilly, right?
No, exactly.
You better
have room.
Is it not around $400?
This one is it's around $3 something, and I'm sure the Wingnut one will be even more.
Yeah, because they make a very premium kind of product.
Yeah. But people are already saying they're going to get it. Yeah, there's people out there. You look in like large scale form or large plane forms or whatever, and people are into these. I won't be surprised if a member of our club buys one. He'll probably get one. He loves the big stuff. But the question is, where the hell do you put it? So anyway, moving on, Ming, this one I like. I had to kind of feature this one because this one I've always thought's cool. They're releasing in 1/35th scale the British Rolls-Royce armored car from World War I. Did you know Rolls-Royce made an armored car?
I did know that they were very, productive in making a lot of the arms and armament.
Yep. So this was from World War I. It was based on the Silver Ghost chassis. And they basically, so the British Admiralty took almost all of the chassis and added a rotatable machine gun turret on the chassis. They took part in World War I, World War II, some local wars and conflicts. They also did a 1920 version, and the 1920 version looks like it adds a Lewis gun on top and an anti-tank gun also in the turret. I've always liked this. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, these are neat. I remember years ago, I think Airfix did one 1/72nd scale, and this scale would be nice. So this might have to go on if I ever see it for a good deal one day, list.
Yeah. Well, 35th scale, that's the proper scale for armor.
It's a good size. 147 millimeters long, 58 millimeters wide, only 190 parts, so that's not bad. Two types of wheel rims and tires are included, photo etch parts, etc., etc. So yeah, that's coming out from our friends at Ming, also from Ming.
Yeah, Ming makes great stuff.
Yeah, well, you know what? You like your motorcycles. You might like this. They are coming out with a 1/9 scale Kawasaki Ninja H2R.
Oh, that'll be cool. Yeah, that's a fun ride.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what's interesting is about this one is they're actually calling it a snap tight kit, but people have seen this and said the quality's fantastic. Apparently, in the past, if you wanted to do carbon fiber, you had to do it using decals.
Yeah.
Apparently they've got some sort of, and it says here, and I quote, the carbon fiber part like fairing are presented with pre-made carbon fiber texture, so you won't bother having to worry about decals.
Wow.
So
that's
I'm not sure, it's like a resin, I guess, or something, but yeah, it's the vehicle's pre-colored, so you wouldn't have to paint it if you don't want to. But yeah, it looks absolutely fantastic for a snap tight kit. Again, I always remember these things like the pocket rockets. You wouldn't get me one of these. I'd kill myself in like 000 to stupid in no time. So that's going to be neat. There's also going to have one. So this is the snap tight one, but apparently it's also going to come with like a full on build. The H2. It doesn't come with pre-colored or electroplated parts, so you could paint those ones up. But it looks like they're both going to come with this carbon fiber one. So yeah, that's
really neat.
Yeah, that's very neat. 1/9 scale. That's a big bike. That's going to come out.
That's cool. Yeah, I'll be able to see all the details.
So yeah, I can definitely see some people waiting for that one. Okay, now we're up to the hot off the presses, like literally today.
Right.
Airfix announced their 2019 line. Airfix also owns Hornby Trains and Scale Electric Race. So all three companies had announcements, and their website promptly ground to a halt.
Yeah.
With everyone checking things out. So a lot of different stuff. I'm not going to go through everything and, all the normal complaining from some people. But for the aircraft stuff, they have a new tool, 172nd MiG-17, a 172nd Buccaneer Mark II. That is a very nice British low-level nuclear attack aircraft from the 50s and 60s. That's a nice-looking aircraft, and that's been waiting for a new tool. I know a lot of people wanted to see that in 1/48 scale, but again, you can't have everything.
Well, maybe it'll come. It'll come down the line, right?
They've got some change parts for their Hawker Hunter. They've got an F4 model now in 1/48 coming out, and here's one I can see some guys in Canada liking. They've got a new tool, 1/48 scale Tiger Moth by de Havilland, which was used to train a lot of pilots during the war over here with the Commonwealth training scheme. They've got a ton of reissues, including some classic stuff. And they've also got, and they haven't done this for quite a few years, they're producing under license 1/35th scale armor. So the molds are from Academy. And quite a few of, the usual suspects, tanks and stuff like that. So that'll be interesting as well. So, and this is in addition to the big 1/24 scale, the Hellcat we talked about a couple of months ago, the Spitfire, stuff like that. So again, some new stuff coming for Airfix. So, overall, there's still people that want their Vulcan bomber in 1/72nd and 1/48. They didn't get that this year, but I can see the Tiger Moth being very, very, very popular, for example.
Yeah, in our neck of the woods.
Yeah, and the Buccaneer. I know a lot of people like that idea. And again, quite a bit of what they call the classic reissues. For example, it's like, for example, the one thing I've got on my bench right now is an 88 millimeter gun and a gun tractor in 1/76 scale. Well, that's the kind of stuff they're reissuing. I've got the original mold. From like 50 years ago, but they're reissuing some of that because that was a lot of fun for people.
Are they making any improvements to these reissues? Are they just sort of boxing them up?
I think they're boxing them up. From what I heard, I've got to go back and double check. I think some of the decals, they're making sure they're updated, stuff like that. So, but it is a lot of times the same molds, from what I understand. They are doing some things. I'm just not sure of the particulars. Right off the top. You might get
nicer plastic, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Some of the older stuff is going to get a little bit.
I think that's what it is. It's newer plastic, but they're using the original molds.
Yeah.
So you may find some flash and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
that's fine. Okay, we're almost done the news. 45 minutes in, if you can believe it. Okay, some sad news for us in southwestern Ontario. A hobby store stalwart for quite a large time in Toronto, Hornet Hobbies, owned by Dave Brown. Well, they're going to be closing January 13th. Dave Brown is actually going to retire from retail life. They're closing it for various reasons, but he's still going to be teach on YouTube. He's going to offer clinics at another great store in Toronto, Wheels and Wings. So they're offering 20% off until then. But yeah, they were a wonderful store. If you can get a chance to get in, if you're in the area, absolutely wonderful store. He had a great basement with like a lounge and a teaching area, and clubs would meet there and stuff like that. Really good guy.
He's a great guy.
He is. So he'll be very missed in the area. But again, good to see.
He'll still be there.
Yeah,
he'll
still be around. He's saying, well, I can't believe it's been 16 years. He's had that store for 16 years. Now, they still might resurrect themselves. Who knows? But he says, we may resurrect ourselves in a different location, and Dave will continue to teach on YouTube and offer clinics at our friends Wheels and Wings. So they're in Toronto as well. So keep in touch, and so will we. So they've got an email address you can leave your address with, and depending what happens, they can get other things in. So that's kind of sad to see. I just heard about that on the weekend.
Yeah, it's hard to see another brick and mortar shop, and I'm really coming to the opinion that like all this internet stuff is great, like internet shopping and access to things, but man, it's not the same.
It isn't. It isn't. No,
and you're missing that. The human component, right?
The human component, you can go in and shoot the crap with some fellow modelers and
pick up some things or see something.
Yep. And the thing is though, and again, we're eventually we're going to have a longer term show on this, but stores can't survive just on you going in and picking up paint and glue. You've got to buy kits, you've got to buy other stuff. But again, as a retailer these days, it's tough because you can't possibly stock everything. And again, some stores have been doing very well with it in the internet age. They offer the best of both worlds.
I think that's the way to survive. It seems that's the way
you have
to operate, right?
You operate the service. I always say you don't worry about the tire kickers and the people that are going to go to another place to save 10 cents. If you can come close, there's a difference if it's $100 or $50, but if you're within $10, most people, if they want it, they're going to get it.
Yeah, save yourself the effort. But he was Dave really had the whole thing going on there because he did a series of videos with what's that fellow's name, Mike.
Well, he had Mig Jimenez come in. When he was there for one of the Heritage Cons, he did some stuff with him.
Yeah, they did film some of those clinics and then put them on YouTube.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, we'll have to add this, but I'm thinking of the guy who does he's American. He did a series of books, and the hairspray technique kind of. He's pretty. He's kind of a guru right now.
I'm sure one of our listeners will fill us in.
I'm Googling it.
You're Googling it right now. Let's just wait and see. But yeah, no, if you do get a chance, pop into Dave's store before that. He didn't give us much time to pop in. I was hoping to, but I'm not going to be able to. Because, one of the things I thought about originally with Dave down from On the Bench in Australia, wouldn't that have been a great spot to do the podcast?
Oh, man, that would have been amazing.
So, we're going to have to work on something else. I was thinking that as soon as Dave suggested it. And then the following weekend, I read the news.
Yeah, it's funny because it's Michael Rinaldi.
Oh, right.
So Dave Brownie had Michael Rinaldi come in and do some videos, and they were very good. And then he had a series of books out, and they've been well received. Mm-hmm. And I know that Michael was also working on showing off the hairspray technique. I think he picked it up from Mig Jimenez.
Yep.
And both those guys obviously are making big waves and teaching people. And I gotta say too, Dave is a great guy. He was one of the first guys who agreed to carry the super sanding blocks in his shop, and I thank him for that. And it felt really great
Yep.
to to
Yep.
have it real in a real store in Toronto, the
And I
big
remember,
bustling.
yeah, and I remember also, like, he was always one of the first to offer to sponsor our shows, and
Yep.
he was definitely a
Yeah.
supporter of the community. So we
Yeah.
wish him the very best
We do.
from the Scale Model Podcast, and I'm sure we'll hear from him in the future. I want to get him on at some point. He doesn't have an excuse to say he's busy. I want to get him in for an interview about the
Oh, that'd be
business
fun.
side of the industry. So that'll
He,
be, yeah, at some
he's
point.
a great guy to talk to too.
Yeah.
Remember, were you there when we had him at the? I brought him in
Yep.
to the RIPMS London,
Yep.
and he did a really cool demo on
Exactly.
some
Exactly. So yeah,
weathering tanks.
we're gonna get him. So I don't know if he's listening to this or not, but anyone who knows him that's listening, tell him at some point he better be aware I'm reaching out, and I won't say
That'd be a
take
lot
no
of
for an
fun.
answer. Okay, so that is actually all the news, the double helping, shall we say?
Whoa, hold on a second,
Yeah,
Stuart.
what else
There's
you got? What else
nothing
do
in
you got?
here about the new Sheridan releases.
Well, you wanna put a
Oh,
link in and tell us about it?
all right. Well, I don't have all the details. I have some details.
All right.
No, I'll be honest. I know all the details. I'm very excited. The new Sheridans are coming out.
Okay.
So the Sheridan kit itself, it's a was like a light reconnaissance amphibious tank
Oh, right.
developed
Okay. Yes. Yes.
developed in the late 50s. They were trying to replace
Mm-hmm.
the Shermans, I think. And anyway, that it did serve in Vietnam, and I think also in Desert Storm before they were retired. So Tamiya did just come out with their
Yep. They've come out
35th
with one.
Sheridan
Someone else
kit.
has.
Yeah, there's two different versions. So the Tamiya one is the World War II, the Vietnam era
Right.
kit, and it
Right.
looks really great. It had a really distinctive sort of saucer like turret,
Yep.
and it was supposed to float. It had these flotation devices
Mm-hmm.
in the side, and it just the old kits that were put out were, I think, not really
Yeah.
accurate.
Yeah.
People were quick to point out that they were pretty wonky looking.
Right.
And it's been a long time since there had been. I think Academy did one maybe in the 90s,
Okay.
and they improved the problems, but they weren't. It still wasn't sort of now it's decades old, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this the Tamiya one looks great, and
It's a
it
new
comes with
tool. Yeah.
it's a brand new tooling, and I know there's also an aftermarket set from Tamiya
Yes.
to add like photo etch in terms of like the grills and that kind of detail. And I think the kit comes with like the fence. They would roll out fence around it to disperse like RPG shells and that kind of thing. So they're
Right.
giving you that detail, and there's a couple figures with it. It looks I'm gonna have to get one soon.
Yeah, I've been hearing people talking about it. There's some reviews already out on it. So yeah, we'll definitely, yeah, it's a brand new tooling. Came out late last year.
Yeah, it's almost like maybe just a month old.
Yeah,
And then
I'm just posting a links to ScaleMates on it.
right on.
We'll throw that in the show notes. Yeah.
And then this other company, which I'm not that familiar with, the Ryfield models,
Mhm.
and I think they do a lot of armor.
Okay.
They are also coming out with one, and it's going to be a more modern version, so probably towards the 90s, like the end of service for this particular tank.
Mhm.
And I know it was going to be a 2-in-1 kit. One of them being the TTS version, which was like tank thermal sighting, so it had like different sort of equipment on top,
Right.
like modern upgrades to it. And I don't know what the second one was. I couldn't quite figure it out, but that is upcoming, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking here. Oh yeah, here we go. The M551A1. Yeah. Release
So
date after February.
So it's coming down the pipe, so we can chat more about it then. But
Yeah.
I love the
I'll
Sheridan.
throw that link in as well. Do you like? Okay, cool. That's awesome. We'll have to. Yeah, if you get one, we'll definitely have to. Whoops.
Yeah, I think it's gonna happen.
Cool. Okay, so that's all the news. Like I said, that's our double helping. We're now going to
1-2 punch.
once a month. See, this is why we do it every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So now we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to hear a word from our sponsor. So stay tuned. All right, and now we're going to have a word from our sponsor, our brand new sponsor, and our first sponsor of the Canadian Tech Podcast, some company called Goodman Models. They make these super sanding blocks. Anthony, I think you know something about that. Oh, wait, that's you.
That's me.
That's you. So
Excellent.
we're really proud to have you on board. I remember reviewing these about a year and a half ago on my
Yeah, thank you very
website,
much.
blackfire.ca. So basically, yeah, super sanding blocks. They're a set of 6 double-sided rigid blocks used for any subject or genre. These tools, they ease kit building and are fantastic for scratch building techniques. The basic set includes a bunch of different grits. So there's 80 grits, which is recommended for stock removal, dry only, and everything else you can use wet and dry. So you got 180, 220, 320 for shaping, 400, 600 for smoothing and polishing. The thing I really like about these is that each of the grits has a little dot that's been slightly drilled in or whatever. It's a different color, but it corresponds to a grit, and they provide you with a nice little color guide. So it's really easy to know your grit. So what exactly is the block made of? It's like a plastic, isn't it?
Yeah, the block itself is a 6 millimeter thick cast acrylic block,
Right.
and you can't bend it, and
No, I tried.
it's just it's perfectly flat. Yeah, it's perfectly flat. It's rigid, and it just gives you an advantage when you're just trying to clean a plane
A flat
make it,
surface.
yeah, and even it out.
Yep.
Or if you're trying to shape putty or glues, sometimes it's really tough to get something nice and flat and straight.
Yeah, that's
Or a
enough.
nice angle.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
if you're using just sandpaper folded up, or if you're using
Yeah.
something that has a bit of give to it, right?
Well, I
So
often, like I said, I often use it because it's got that nice flat, dead flat surface. It's really nice when let's say you've got let's say a box or something you're trying to sand. You've got to sand all the parts of it down equally. You can just
yeah,
put it on that and away it goes, and it's great. I've used it wet and dry. I believe you've also said before you can just use like a toothbrush or something to clean up the bits that get in
yes,
there. I've done that.
yeah,
Yeah, they work really great. We really recommend them, and not just because he's here as a sponsor.
yeah. Give them a try.
I do recommend the product. A lot of guys have been out there and using it. So for more information, he still has to set up a website. I keep bugging him about that, but that's fine
No,
for now.
I'm dragging my heels on
He's
it.
dragging his heels. It's okay. So for now, go to facebook.com/Goodman Models. You can also email me. He's got a brand new email address, goodmanmodels@hotmail.com. And you can find it in a lot of fine retailers, but he's recently has a great deal with our good friends at flexifile.com. And
Yep.
they were at our show recently. They do some amazing tools. So
Yeah, they
it's
have
really
wonderful
good.
tools.
Yeah. So roughly about how much would the average set cost? I think they're like between 20 and 30, depending on
Yeah,
the store.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's in
Well,
Canadian, but again,
28.99 I
yeah,
think is
something like
the
that.
new price.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. But yeah, definitely give them a try. And we really welcome their support here on the Scale Model podcast.
Yeah, thank you,
So
Stuart. We
thank you.
appreciate it.
All right. Okay. Now we're going to move on to our topic of the week. What do you do with your completed models when complete? And I'm thinking particularly when you run out of shelf or cabinet space. We talked about the stash before, that a lot of us
Hmm.
have more than we can ever build. But even my small stash, I look at and I think, if I build all these, where am I going to put them? I'm using about 2.5 cabinets now. My wife's letting me have another one. But eventually, you're going to run out of room. So I was curious, and I asked some of our people on our Facebook group at facebook.com/scale model podcast about what people do. A lot of people are into the IKEA, the Clack storage units behind glass doors.
I've seen those.
Yeah, one of mine, I've got
Very
one.
cool.
It's a clone of IKEA. It's a just one from another company similar. But yeah,
Yep.
glass cases are popular. Corner units. I've seen people just do shelving, buffets, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Dusting's always an issue. I've read up some stuff there. A lady's makeup brush for powder apparently works very well.
I have a couple of those.
Yeah.
And they're
Okay.
great.
Yeah. I actually went to the drugstore or I actually had my wife get one, so I wouldn't go to the drugstore and say, "Hi, I need a big
Oh.
makeup brush," and I didn't
It's
steal hers.
2018. Get your own
I
brush.
know. I didn't.
No,
No, she went.
2018,
She gave me a look.
2019.
She gave me a look, and she actually got me a new one. She didn't give me one of her old ones. I think she was concerned I was going to steal one from her.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, sure. I'll put some weathering on there and put it back in the makeup case. Yeah. What's the worst that can happen? Just a hint for you guys who are considering getting married. That's one of the things you do not want to do. Keep happy
Don't mess
wife, happy
up.
life. Exactly. Take it from the married guys here. But anyway, so yeah, so some people do that. Some other people said they put things in storage cases. Now, so this one person said, but I have limited space, so some people consider selling them once finished. He tends to paint figures, so I think they're easy to resell. I know other people, yeah, like one of our previous guests, John Bias, he actually does sell them on eBay once he's taken a ton of photos.
Cool.
Someone else here, once I hit capacity, the plan is to keep the best and give away the rest to charity shops. I know of other people, I've seen it sometime on YouTube. Some people will take like the very earliest stuff, like when they were kids, and they've improved so much, they will just pitch it. And I know some people get upset about that, but you know, I know. So
if you've built it, you've had the experience.
Yep.
Really, that's the core idea that sometimes maybe gets a little bit lost, right? You can throw it out when you're done. You've had the experience, and
right.
You've built it.
Now, what about you? What sort of storage space do you have?
Well, you know what? This is a really interesting topic for me because I don't have any display at all.
Right.
All of my finished kits are in sort of plastic storage tubs.
Okay.
And they're ready to transport.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got them wrapped up, I've got them disassembled, so I could take them out and look at them.
Yeah, and I see that other people have done that too. Yeah, that
and my kids sometimes they're like, "Show me that plane," and I'll take it out for them. But I just don't have, and that was kind of one of the things that I've been thinking about in my model shop space, which I'm very grateful. I have a pretty decent sized space, and you've been there. But I'm going to build some kind of display case that I can show some of them off, right?
I think it's good to see, and that's what I have.
I would like to see them.
Yeah,
and then I just going
my spouse has been great. You know, we have a display case, 2 display cases in the main room, and I have them in there. And
cool.
You have the lights and everything, and you can show them off. So I think it's an important thing.
Yeah, I'd like to see them.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm going to do, I know that I'll have a sort of finite amount of space when I get the sort of cabinet designed and installed. So I'm just going to rotate them.
Yep. Cool.
Right. Because they really do, they do store away very neatly.
Yeah.
And, it's also important to me that I love going to the shows. I love putting the finished entries in a contest or even just for display. So I like the fact that I have them and I can take them to a club meet.
I think it's something. I think it's something I want to do as well. Just get a couple of boxes just so I can do that.
It's so helpful to have.
Have
some
them
storage
all ready and exactly ready to go. So, yeah, it'll probably be something I do. When I was a kid, I got out of it for a while, so almost all that's gone. But I did find a box of some older ones.
Really?
And, it's but again, most of them were built with the wheels up and paintbrushes, testers paint, and it's like they're neat ones, but no.
I don't have any of that old stuff.
But you know what? At some point I'm probably going to pitch it. Because it's a similar thing, but exactly. And as you were saying, it's for a lot of people. There's people I know that I've heard of people in the, friends of friends who they basically build them, and then once they're done, they take some photos and pitch it. They enjoy building. And that's more power to them. I always think it's funny though when you get like on some of these Facebook groups, you have someone showing a video of stuff like this in the bin, and people are going, "Oh, why don't you give it to a museum or Boy Scouts or whatever?" Well, the museums don't have
what are they
room
going to do with it?
Exactly.
Right?
We talked
doesn't
about.
Make any sense.
Well, we talked about that when it came to like estate planning. Like, what do you do with all these old ones in a previous episode? So, but again, we had some great comments. So if you have some other comments, feel free to reply on the blog post when we post the episode, or on Facebook on the group. We'd love to hear what other people are essentially doing. So
it's display case ideas that is great information to share, and solutions you've come up with, and especially now you can add like LED strip lights. You can see your models that you've got in there, and there's lots of different versions.
Exactly.
And it sounds like you have one from IKEA.
Well, it's like IKEA. It's from a store called Jisk. Yeah, they're like an IKEA clone, but similar idea. Slightly cheaper version. Then I've got like one of my wife's old wooden corner units I'm using as well.
Yeah.
And then I've got another glass case I think I got from my mom or my mother-in-law, which is more of a wood, but it's got glass on all sides. And yeah, and like with the IKEA one, I've got some areas where I've got like a little sub shelf for like smaller miniatures and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it works. But again, it's always kind of fun. Like I just put the latest project in, I'll talk about in a minute, into there. So it's always fun starting to shift things around, trying to make some more room on the shelves. And that was another reason I thought it'd be worth bringing this topic up.
Yeah, it's good when you can really see it and there's good
Yep.
lighting and lots of glass.
Yep.
That's an awesome way to show off,
Exactly.
especially your proudest works, right?
Yeah,
Why not show them
exactly.
off?
Exactly. Okay, speaking of our proudest works, we're going to cover what's on the bench right now.
All right.
So yeah, again, I was sick, so I didn't do a lot of modeling when I was sick. It's nothing like trying to do a fine paint job and you start hacking and coughing or sneeze all over the model. That's not very conductive to productivity.
Gotta rest. You gotta rest.
Yeah, yeah. When even then, it's like, no, just you just with this particular cold, it just saps the energy out of you.
Yeah.
I wasn't even in the mood. But
Right.
anyway, I've decided I'm calling the old school Tamiya 1/35th scale Panther Osprey done.
Excellent.
As I was mentioning, I did make a nice little base for it. I used some of the acrylic ground medium, the mud.
Ooh,
That
can't wait to
stuff's
see it.
very cool. Yeah, I'm going to post a link when I do the show notes back to my blog, blackfire.ca, and I'll post some pictures. I still have to do that blog post. I did do some work in progress. You'll find some stuff around on my Facebook feed or whatever. The Hasegawa 72nd scale CF18 Hornet, it's ready for decals
Beautiful.
after all the fun I had with putting the wrong paint on the wrong side and all that. I covered that earlier, but that's now painted, glossed up,
Corrected.
ready for decals. Looking forward to getting that one done. And then I had this, like I said, this fun little one with the Airfix 88 gun and half track, and then this Bandai 1/144 scale Tarn.
The Shaitarn, yeah.
Shaitarn, my little Gundam kit for the first time. So he's all been painted. I've got him painted. I've got some of the in like a 2.5 color camouflage, desert camouflage.
Looking good.
Yeah, it's looking good. I've starting to work on the grit and the desert sand for the base. So I'm pretty sure I know what position it's going to be in, and I'm going to call it probably something like "Where did everyone go?" And if I can somehow figure out a way to do footprints in the sand, like footprints running away from the half track.
Oh yeah.
And just this thing, and I think I'm gonna make the Gundam German as well. But the idea is this guy's all of a sudden showing up at the front, and all his buddies are running away from him for some reason because he's a great bloody big robot.
Right on. Sounds like fun.
So that's gonna be fun. So what are you working on?
Yeah, I'm ramping up. I actually had a great. I've been really rocking some stuff, and I'm back to my 1/35th scale M113
Right.
conversion, and it's looking good now. I'm building. I'm working on the tools. I'm rebuilding the footman loops.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm making them out of armature wire that was given to me by our fellow club member Don.
Yep.
And I'm working on white. So painting white, I'm playing around with some gray pre-shading.
Yep.
And I also used all that on my GM Sniper. And so I kind of had a chance to play with the whites.
Yeah,
and
that's challenging. White's so very challenging.
Yeah, white was a lot. Like it's not white, right?
No.
Like I was using a lot of grays and then sort of highlighting with white and trying to make it not look too dirty.
Okay.
And not just straight up white. So trying to add some of the depth and I'm going to be using all those techniques on this UN scheme white, M113. Or it's really the MIFV, Malaysian Infantry Fighting Vehicle. But So I'm just rocking the tools on there. Some of them are a little bit soft, shall we say? It's an older Academy kit, so I'm up trying to, I'm adding some new pieces or trying to upgrade them a little bit. So I'm just working on that stuff. And then I also took out a couple old kits I haven't touched in a while. 172nd Staghound, which I'd like to do in a Canadian version. So that is not the way to do armor, but it's the only one I had. It's a rough kit, but anyways, my grandfather drove a Staghound.
Oh, cool.
In World War II, he was a driver he was in the 12th Manitoba Dragoons.
Okay.
So I know there's some 35th scale kits out there, and I'd like to get one at some point. But I'm just gonna put together this kit.
Cool.
So I'm working on just getting it together. It was a little bit rough, so I'm having to add some styrene to it and clean it up a bit that way. But it's shaping up. And then I also took out a gun cannon, an RX-77D. It was the Mark II gun cannon. It was a great little kit. And I started to do a few modifications, and then I put it away. And so I dug it back out and just started to work on the construction phase of that. And those are my travel kits.
Yes.
So saying that, I went through my tools, divide them up. So I had 2 sets of tools, one kind of on my bench, and then another set in a box. So now if I take a box, my toolbox, and my bag with 2 kit boxes in it, I go to a club meet or to a show or just, visiting my, family for a couple days, and I can get an hour. I got everything I can do to make a little bit of magic happen, minus the painting and all that stuff.
Right.
So it's been fun just to actually get out of the, doing the long-term kind of projects and, working on the armor and the GM sniper, working on them for like a year solid and just trying to be disciplined.
Yep. Yeah.
But,
it's tough to do. Like I've been trying to keep the, 2 projects. I added this Gundam one just as a little bit of a third, and I've been pretty good about this year. But yeah, sometimes you need a break, and that's the important thing. I still have 1 or 2 things on the shelf of doom. I need to get back and look, and we'll get there eventually. So yeah, very, very good. So no, that's good to see. We should probably do a topic sometime about modeling on the road. I think that would be a good one, because I know there's a group in our club, and I know other clubs that they meet on the off Wednesday nights when the club doesn't meet. You got a bunch of them get together.
It's tough if you don't have like sort of the right thing to work on. If you're in the middle of painting something, I don't want to go. But I know I've gone to a couple of those sort of conventions where you're there for 4 days. It's like I want to be building. I can't just go and just buy stuff and it's like, I'm doing decals in the hotel room.
Exactly.
I mean, on occasions I've been trying to finish something for the contest, right? But other times I've just brought my project in. It's like, okay, I'm doing decals. I can definitely just do that anywhere, right?
Exactly.
Or if you're just building something, or you bring even just a sub-assembly of a kit, and you've got some tools, and you can find a little space to work. Oh, I mean, why not, right? Especially model shows or model cons. It's like, oh man, I don't build something. It doesn't feel right.
Yep, perfect. Okay, so that's something we may touch upon in a future episode. Okay, almost done. Sites and tips. Just a couple here. I found 2 since I was away for a week. You get 2 from me, and you get 1 from Anthony. Starship Modeler, one of the most oldest and complete sites about everything in sci-fi modeling.
That's a great site.
Starshipmodeler.com. Yeah, just go. That's all we need to say. If you're building anything sci-fi, there's some very cool stuff there. Some very cool builders. Also, when I was talking about estate planning and that, someone had this one model plane maker, some insane stash picks, and it's worth looking at. It actually briefly touches upon. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago how there was a estate sale in southwestern Ontario with 11,000 kits.
Oh my goodness!
Sold. Yeah, and again they were trying to sell it. I believe they did sell it as one to a reseller. Thank God. But yeah, we touched on that. And then you have a pick this week as well, and I know all about this one.
Yeah, you're familiar with Panzermeister 36 on YouTube. I've been watching some of this guy. He's great. He does tutorial videos. He's really obviously interested in German World War II armor, and he does really complete and well done tutorial videos, and he maps out the techniques and really gives a chance to see what's going on, and they're great and they're really well done. And I don't think I'm ever going to build any German armor. Probably. We'll see.
You never know.
If I do, it's going to be like bright blue or hot pink or something.
Come to the dark side.
but the techniques and the ideas, I find that they are universal. I am working on a piece of armor, so I'm kind of thinking about weathering and but it's just interesting stuff, and he does a great job explaining. So I've gone through some of his tutorials about weathering. He's doing like Africa Core, subjects, and he went through a Stug kind of
Yep.
complete and
Yep.
shows you some
Yep.
ideas. So yeah, it's just great to see new ideas and different takes on the ones I'm already doing, right? To,
Yep.
something I can do a little better or just a different idea. So yeah, I've been enjoying his series of videos.
Yeah, I've also realized, I was just looking at his about page, he's actually Canadian.
Yeah, I think he's from Ontario. I
Is
haven't
he?
quite figured
Okay.
out where
I'll
is
have
he
to figure
from,
out
but
where he's from. But yeah,
yeah, he might be around
he's
us.
launched a new Facebook page too.
Oh, okay.
Panzermeister Models. Evan McCallum is his name.
Yeah, he might be.
That's his name, Evan McCallum. So
He's around here somewhere.
we'll have to reach out. Maybe we'll have to get him
Be
on the
fun.
show. Yeah. Let's see. He's currently studying and he's in Ottawa.
Ottawa.
He's
Okay.
studying
Okay.
aerospace engineering. So
Cool.
yeah,
Good for
very
him.
cool. We'll have to see if we can get him on.
Yeah, his stuff is great.
Yeah, very, very, very cool. So, okay, so we are about done. So that is your double helping end of year edition. We've gone 1 hour and 15 minutes. I just again want to give a shout out to our good friends on the other hemisphere, on the other side of the world. Dave, Ian, and Julian at On the Bench. Their podcast, they managed to get a next bonus one in because they weren't sick, unlike me. So, yep, their most recent one is called When Things Go Wrong. And basically, we try and do an episode. They also do roughly bi-weekly. So we try and do alternate weeks. So that way you get a modeling podcast every week. So definitely check them out at On the Bench. Easily searched, also available. We are also available, as I said, bi-weekly. We're available iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, here, there, and everywhere. Again, if you have any comments, let us know at the various sources. We have a Patreon page. And that's it. I think we are done. So for the Scale Model Podcast, my name is Stuart Clark.
And this is Anthony Goodman.
Thank you and be well.